Welcome everyone to the Success Shift. We're here, we cultivate entrepreneurial confidence. My name is Colbert Erickson and I am you guys' host. This is the very first episode of the Success Shift. And I just wanted to say thank you guys so much for tuning in today. It means a lot to me. I wanted to build this channel for you guys and help your guys' success journey as I have had with mine and every other entrepreneur that is going to be coming on. So just to give you guys kind of a download on how this podcast is going to work, we will have entrepreneurs from all walks of life coming on, and we'll be interviewing them for their success journey and what they have done to grow to where they're at. Since this is the first episode, we're going to be doing things a little differently today. I actually have someone interviewing me on why we're doing this podcast, myself, and where it's going, right? And whatever he decides to come up with, I'm not really sure. We're just here for the ride. But very dear friend of mine, his name is Greg Pihs. He's actually the CEO and owner of GP Mind Growth Academy, and he is an NLP trainer for timeline therapy. If you guys don't know what NLP stands for, it's Neuro-Linguistic Programming. Greg is an amazing person, an amazing father, amazing husband, dear friend of mine. Greg, can you tell the audience a little bit about yourself?
Absolutely, brother. I'm excited to be on here. I'm excited that I get to be part of episode 1. I've got to witness a lot of your growth over the years and super excited to see what you're about to share back with everyone else. But let me answer your question and tell everyone a little bit about me. What is the GP Mind Growth Academy? Who is Greg? What is NLP? And so let's cover that shortly and quickly. GP Mind Growth Academy was founded by myself and founded out of the aspiration of wanting to help others. Neuro-Linguistic Programming is a modality that I used to help myself consciously evaluate unconscious programming and trauma that I had. And it was so powerful. I said, I want to share this with the world. So it's a little bit about who I am, the Mind Growth Academy. And now let's put the spotlight on you, Colby. Let me ask you a few questions, brother. Again, super excited to be here. Tell us a little bit about, look, what is the Success Shift? Like, it's a podcast, but I know from behind the scenes, it's a little bit more than a podcast. Tell us about, like, what is it as a whole, the Success Shift? Like, and how did it come about? How did you come up with this concept?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, what's funny is, and this is actually gonna be the first time people are hearing about this. I've kind of kept it a little bit of a secret or quiet, just because I wanted people to see my growth casually and quietly, right? I didn't want to announce what I was doing. I just wanted people to see, my growth and my journey, right? And not for the purposes of look at me, but just so people can see what a journey looks like, right? Being the example. But just to be honest, the Success Shift, it's just a podcast. It's a podcast. It's what is about the podcast and what the podcast is going to help with, right? And so the little secret and the little teaser is, and I think this is okay to say, but I've actually been working with you through NLP and getting certified through Neuro-Linguistic Programming, and that is really what helped me click to say, you know what, I need to get out there and I need to help people more, right? I help people in my own space and my own business and my agents, and I help them grow, but I don't want to just limit that, right? I want to help people from all walks of life. And so the podcast, the Success Shift, it's a podcast, but it's a movement, right? It's about community. It's about growth. It's about coaching. It's about speaking. It's really just to have people come to a place, whether it's listeners or speakers or coaches. And so where we can all talk about just the walk of entrepreneurship. Sometimes because of social media, entrepreneurship has this presence of glamorous, all peaches and rainbows, right?
Yeah.
And I think with social media, it's made things easier for entrepreneurs, but also hard at the same time, because now we're always looking at people and like, oh, they look like they're having a great life. Why can't I have that? And then the moment they have one glimpse of adversity, oh, no, this isn't for me. This isn't for me. They had it way too, no, it must not be for me, right? And as I've learned recently, that's that critical faculty, right? That little safe voice telling you, just to protect yourself. But I wanted to be real and raw with this. I wanted to be raw with this podcast because I want people to know that every person that's walked the path of entrepreneurship and business owners have had adversity, have crawled just like everyone, has fell forward just like everyone, has had the same thoughts of, oh, this isn't for me, right? It's normal. And I want people to understand that and know that. And so this podcast is a movement to help people understand that and grow through their journey and get tangibles on what they could do next, right? And that's what this is.
Dude, that is freaking powerful. I was going to ask you what, while you were first talking, I was thinking to myself, like, hey, what triggered you? What realizations did you have where you're like, hey, this movement is needed, right? And then I heard you speak on, and I'd love for you to elaborate a little bit more if you'd like, on the fact that what I took away was so powerful was you said, hey, everyone's seeing the best day on the internet. Like, I want to show them the raw, the transparent, the ups, the downs, the whole roller coaster. That's powerful. How did you, can you talk a little bit more about that? Like how that realization came about, and that it's just really powerful that, like you said, what we're getting to see online most times is just that beautiful glamour pic. But I love that you're ready to bring the whole roller coaster to people. Can you talk a little bit about how you had that realization and that readiness to share at that level?
That is a hard thing to put into labels and context personally. But what I will say is it came from the realization of my personal growth.
Boom.
And my personal growth came to a crazy level over the last 6 weeks. And that's, I think, the trigger. People need to understand you're going to have different phases of life. You're going to have different phases of growth. But I really want to help people get to the next level. There's the persona of the 9 to 5 and the way you're supposed to do life, right? We work 40, 50 years. We collect a retirement if we're lucky. And we walk around crippled for the next 10 to 15, trying to enjoy the later years of our life. And that doesn't need to be like that, right? It does not need to be like that. We got one shot at this thing. And I love waking up to my family and my son every single day, and to be really raw, right? This is obviously going to be not in the moment, but my son walked into my podcast room a minute ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I have that beauty.
Wow.
I have that moment. And sure, in the moment, can we be like, he's in the way, right? Screw that. Right? We got one shot at this life, and people need to have that shot. People need to understand it's okay to have that shot. There's not one way of doing it. And don't get me wrong, if you want that security, I'm not telling you you're wrong. But I want to see people live their life and live it for purpose with their family. And I believe that we were put on this earth to leave it better than we left it.
Boom. I love this. I love this. Okay. Talk to us a little bit about what are some of the ways in which, what are some things that we can expect to see in terms of what are some of the ways this podcast is going to share value? You've already elaborated, or you've already suggested, hey, transparency is one. What are some of the other ways in which people can tune in and pull value from this podcast?
Oh, yeah, this is going to be a great show. I have a vision, guys, that this is going to be the #1 podcast in the next decade, streaming across the world, the #1 entrepreneurship podcast. And I have that vision because of who I want to bring on this show. We're going to bring people from all walks of life, every aspect of entrepreneurship, every industry, every business, construction, multi-level marketing, finance, real estate, you name it. We're going to have them on because I think it's important to see everybody's sector, but how it always links to one thing.
Boom. Go ahead, tell us.
And we're going to talk about that. And we're going to talk about the steps necessary to take. And we're going to talk about that little voice in your head. And we're going to talk about the growth on the other side of that voice. And we're going to give tangibles for you to go take action. My thing is, I want you to leave this podcast and be able to go take action. If I end this podcast and you just feel hyped, but you don't know what to do, that's my wrong and that's my fault. And not to not to just again, we're gonna be raw, not to call it out, but there's plenty of that podcast that do that, right?
Yep,
Hype up,
yep.
hype up, hype up, and that's all good and dandy. Don't get me wrong, I need that sometimes. But if I could hype you up and leave it tangible for you to go take away and take an action, so then you can't wait to listen to the next week to take the next action, that's what this is going to be.
Boom. I love it. And I love that you're bringing in all these other guests, because you said something earlier, like there's not just one way to do this. And when you're by bringing in all these other successful entrepreneurs and by listening to their stories, I'll be listening in every single one. Like, this is my choice. This is my belief. Every single entrepreneur you bring in, I'm going to get a nugget from.
Oh, absolutely.
And really just when they're sharing their story, not to mention, this is super exciting that you have a commitment that every podcast you have a desire to create actionable, tangible steps for the listeners to go out and put into action. I love that. That's super powerful.
Thank you. Thank you.
So tell us a little bit about what is the future of this movement. What have you saw so far out in the future, and what can you share with us so far with what might be able to expect in 6 months, a year, 2 years from now?
Ooh, I'm gonna leave a little bit of a secret on that one, but I'll just sprinkle in some of the recipe that's going to be happening with this movement. We are taking this to new heights and new levels. I don't want to just limit this to a podcast. I want to take this across the world. I want to speak this on stage. I want to help everybody out there. If I could take this to Europe and help entrepreneurs in Europe, I'm going to do it. Right. And we're going to do it across the stage. We're going to do it on the podcast. We're going to do it through individual coaching. We're going to do it every way possible to get people to the way or the desire that they have to accomplish. And that's where this is going, little tidbit of it. And
Dude,
this is going to be a great journey.
I love it. You're like, this thing doesn't stop with the podcast. We're taking it everywhere. Look, I know this is just getting going, but I gotta ask, like, what about for the people that heard this and they're like, dude, I want that guy to speak. I want that. I want his transparency. I want his rawness. What is, if there's anyone listening right now that's like, hey, I want you to come talk about this topic, this subject in my group, how can someone reach out to you if they want to learn more about the Success Shift? What's the best way for them to reach out to you?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can message us on Instagram at the Success Shift, or you can follow me personally on Instagram and message me personally on Instagram, and it is at Corey Derrickson. You can also go search me on Facebook, Corey Derrickson, and that's Dirikson. You guys should know that, right? It's on the podcast logo. But just in case you didn't, as well as Threads at Corey Derrickson and Twitter at Corey Derrickson. I try to keep it streamlined, simple. We don't want to get too confusing in all these different handles. But you guys can reach out to me anytime on social media. I love talking to people. I love helping people and bringing value in any way possible. Never hesitate to reach out. Never hesitate.
Dude, that's powerful. And I know you will help a lot of people because of your heart. Because of your heart, because of your passion, I can feel your conviction. I can feel your passion. I can feel you when you speak. I can only imagine what it's going to be like for others that are receiving this message, whether they're getting it through the podcast or they're getting it from a keynote that you're delivering or a private workshop or whatever it may be. We need more raw entrepreneurs, that not only raw entrepreneurs, because there's plenty of raw entrepreneurs that I don't know if we can say, well, I'll save the curse words, but there's plenty of raw entrepreneurs that can even get to be, I'll use the label rude, right? But this is you're being a raw entrepreneur with a desire to serve those one chapter behind you.
Absolutely.
And we need that so much more. Like, I have a belief, like abundance mindset is like, I choose to believe, and I'm gonna maintain it. The abundance mindset is the rising tide lifts all the boats. The abundance mindset is, you can't compete with me because I want you to win too. And you have the abundance mindset. I'm super excited. Let me ask you this. Do you plan on, for those that are just checking this out for the first time, like for those that don't know Colby, have you, where or when can they learn more about your personal story and some of the challenges that you've been through starting all the way back to childhood?
Yeah, we may have to have a long extended version where I go into my full story, because I love to talk about it, and you guys may hear it on stage, and you actually, I'm gonna retract that, you will hear it on stage. I have no problem talking about my story, but just to kind of give you guys where I came from. My childhood, great childhood, guys. I'm not saying anything about that. Loving mom that just did anything for me, that was stronger than can be, and I think that's where I got my courage and strength from to originate with. An amazing stepdad that brought me in as his own, took care of me, and gave me the life that I could have. Um, but with that, not everything's sunshine and rainbows, right? A lot of personal issues with my biological father, that I think created a lot of my limiting beliefs that I had to personally break through. And it's funny, is I had such a hardcore ego of like, I got to be the strongest person there is, that nobody probably really seen it. They didn't see the struggle behind that gate and those doors. And I'm totally okay with saying that, right? Because I know where I'm going.
Mm.
And so, just a little bit of background, my mom worked her tail off. My stepdad worked his tail off. And my mom did everything possible for me to have the life I wanted. And I'm going to thank her for that. I could not be where I'm at if it wasn't for her. She was always the person that said, you can do whatever you want. Right. And that even started with motocross. I grew up racing motocross, from a young age, to the age of 18, 19. And it was always, you can make it, you can make it, you can make it. And even through all my trial and error of entrepreneurship, every single time I told her, Mom, this is what I'm going to be doing. That's so awesome. I'm proud of you. You can do it. Right. And not everybody has that. And I know that,
Mhm.
but I'm gonna thank my mom for providing that,
Mm.
courage in me. But on the caveat, I did have my own trauma, right, with my biological father, that caused a lot of heartache, caused a lot of anger, caused a lot of personal problems, and I had to work through that. And so, yeah, this story can keep going, and I'm gonna tell it on stage one day. But just to continue that on, from motocross, went to the military, 6 years in the army, and from there, real estate, to then the financial industry, right? And that's where I really started to find my groove and my niche, and started taking those strides to success. And what really got me to where I was is, I'm going to go ahead and say, that financial industry, because it taught me a little bit about leadership.
Mm.
We can go win at a personal level, but there's only so much we can do, and there's only a certain level we can make, or reach. You want to make a global impact, a difference, it takes a team, it takes a
Mm.
movement, it takes a group of people. And I learned that pretty early on in the financial industry. And I'm going to thank that experience. And I'm not done there, right? But I'm going to thank that experience for introducing me into leadership, because the military didn't introduce me into leadership. Motocross was all about myself. Real estate was about myself. This taught me leadership, and I'm excited to make a global impact, and we're going to do it together.
That is powerful, brother. That is powerful. I can't wait. I can't wait to hear your story from stage. I'm privileged to know a little bit more details, and of course for today, you're condensing it in a version that people can digest pretty quickly. But I know it's a lot more powerful than that. I can't wait to hear it. I'm super excited for the podcast. How can I add value for the listeners? Yeah, let me ask you that.
First, you can agree to coming on, and me asking you the questions. But that'd be that'd be the first way, right? I think people need to hear your voice. I Greg's being very conservative here, but Greg is a very big reason on why I am where I am right here, right now. And so thank you, brother, for that. I really do appreciate that. And people need to know more about that movement, right?
Dude, that's super exciting. Go ahead. Yeah, yeah.
So outside of that, for those people that are like, okay, well, what do I do? Right? What do I do? What would you say someone's first step is?
Ooh, this is exciting. First, let me say, dude, I cannot wait. I would love to be back on and to share a little bit about my journey and that movement and everything. So please, please let me know when. And then I'm a little bit excited. Do I get to share the takeaway for people today?
You get to share the takeaway, brother.
Dude, I'm excited. So here's the deal. So I have to give you guys, and to say have to, I
Choose.
Colby has, there we go. There we go. Cheers. Colby has challenged that earlier in this podcast, that what he's going to give out on each episode is something that you can go and take action on. So I am going to give you something that you're going to be able to leave today and take action on. And I think one of the most valuable things that anyone can do for free would be creating their success list.
Ooh.
And a success list is, I want you guys to think about what is your biggest goal. However, we could just remove that label of goal. And what if I said desire? What is the thing that you want? The biggest thing you're like, I want this thing. Take a piece of paper and write that thing at the top of the piece of paper, whatever it is. So I want to host my own event, break this barrier financially, grow this, launch this, whatever the case may be, write that at the top. And then below that, I want you to imagine all the things you would need in order to achieve that thing at the top in the best case scenario. So if you said, I'm going to launch my own business, that's the biggest desire, let's say, for this chapter. So write that at the top, and then start writing down all the things that if you had them, you'd be able to launch this business in a best case scenario right now. Now, when you're creating this list, you may want to say, I need money, or I need $1,000 or $10,000. But I'm going to challenge you that you're not allowed to put money on the list. So instead of putting money, just put whatever you'll buy with the money, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. This does two things for you. By creating this list, and anyone can create this list and they can create it for free. This does two things for you. And the first thing that it does is it begins to program your RAS to seek this future out for you, because you may have never realized consciously the things you needed to get what you want before. Once we consciously have a realization of the things we need, our mind is unconsciously searching for them for us. The second thing that this is going to do for you is we all know that networking is one of the biggest keys and successes in business. You got to meet new people so we can have new opportunities and learn new things and create new relationships. When we're networking, most of us will wrap up the meeting, and one person in the meeting, if not both, will say, all right, well, what can I do for you? How can I help you? And if you're not prepared to let people know how they can help you, we'll say something like, oh, I need leads, or do you know anyone that's looking to buy this or sell that? Or do you know anyone that's looking to work with? And that's just that generic response because we don't know what better to say. And honestly, without saying anything better, say that, because look, what if they have a lead for you? So say that if we don't know anything better. But because you have this success list created now, you can go there and say, well, I'm looking for a venue or a sponsor or a marketing team or a platform. Without this list, we don't even know how to tell people how they can help us. And most people want to help you. We just have to be clear on how they can help us. So that's what I'm going to leave your guests with for our action item today, Colby.
Ooh,
Yeah, man. What are your thoughts on that?
that was tasty. That was tasty. I can't wait for more. I can't wait for more. So you guys are gonna definitely have to tune in again for when Greg comes back on, and he may or may not just give you all the nuggets. We'll have to see. What would you? One last thing, Greg.
Please.
NLP has obviously been a big factor for my growth already, and obviously tremendous for you. What would you say it is about NLP for those viewers? And is NLP, and what is it about it that really just helps unlock that little key in your mind to your personal growth?
That's a great question. Now, when I answer this for everyone listening, this is spoken from my perspective. So, and
Mm,
it's important for me to say that because this is opinion. So I would say, what is it about NLP? NLP for me is really the study of human algorithm. And I'm fairly analytical. And so I really enjoyed learning there's a reason for everything happening in our mind. For me, these are my projections, my quantifications, but it's kind of like we may have heard the saying before, if this, then that. And it's a saying that's used in coding for computers. And in
mm-hmm.
our mind, that's what's happening. If this, then that. So when we get the word, which is it's an overused word, but the word triggers. Well, everything we do, I was talking to my wife, we have some chickens we recently got not long ago, and someone told us, they said chickens, we had never had chickens before in our life, and so we're excited. I wanted some a couple years back and finally wore my wife down. So finally won that one. No, but so we got 4 chickens, and someone told us that chickens like mealworms. And so the other day I was in Walmart and I was picking some stuff up for a fish. Yes, we have a mini zoo. And I was picking some things up for a fish, and they had freeze-dried mealworms right in that little fish section, and it said for reptiles, fish, and birds. And I thought, oh, wow, let's see if the chickens like it. And so this is just yesterday evening, and we're going out there, and I told my wife, I said, shake it. Like, they don't know what this is, but shake it. And when they see it, take a couple out and throw it on the ground. And when they come, if they like it, shake it again and give them some more. And the reason why in NLP this is called anchoring, or some people know it as conditioning, or some people know it as grooming.
Mm.
Well, what we find out, if this, then that. So now my wife can go out and shake, and literally she set up this anchor in one evening. So today we've already even tested, like she can go out and shake this little thing of worms and the chickens will come running. If this, then that. So NLP really helped me understand, oh, there's a way to create absolutely everything and anything that I want. And then I just got to figure out what the if this is. So that was really how NLP quantified for me in my mind in a fairly long-winded answer.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Thank you for that, Greg. I sure appreciate that. Where can people find you, and how can people connect with you?
I love it. I appreciate it, brother. Yeah, best place is going to be, website is gpmindgrowth.com. And if you're interested in connecting personally, you can do it at email address, which is my first and last name. So greg@gregpihs.com. You can connect with me email, or you can learn a little bit more about NLP going to gpmindgrowth.com.
Love it. Love it. Well, thank you, Greg. I appreciate your time today. I can't wait to have you back, as well as I'm sure the listeners can't wait to have you back. Hopefully we're able to provide some value today, right? So thank you guys for tuning in to the Success Shift, where again, what we do here is cultivate entrepreneurial confidence. And this wraps up episode 1. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Greg, thank you. Guys, have a great day.